Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
I will destroy everything you love.
Don't miss the epic conclusion.
Show them what we got.
Cute.
God, I love that dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon. The Hidden World. Rated PG.
Hello. This is Adolph Vega, and today I'm with Jake Jarvis.
Hello.
And today we are doing a spoilerific review of How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. And we just want to make sure you watch the movie. Watch the 3 movies, actually. I watched them all already. We not watched the TV shows, so we're kind of that's a blind spot for us. But I don't think you should have to watch the TV shows. But Jake, do you have any insights on the TV shows that you want to throw off?
Other than I know that they reference them in the movies, because I got told that by kids that I had taken to see these movies, and they would fill me in on the details.
But you're totally fine to watch this without watching the TV show, though.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just kind of Easter eggs to the more hardcore people, something to appreciate. And then Star Wars does that all the time, and Marvel movies do it, so why not a dragon movie?
I didn't know this was based on a book series, which is, I guess, my fault for not knowing that. So it's interesting. Have you ever read the books or know anything about them, or no?
I know a little bit about the books because, over the years, several of the kids that I would always take with me to see these read the books. In some ways, they're very faithful. In some ways, they're not. That's because DreamWorks put them into a more standard film narrative. But unlike most movies that follow this standard formula, DreamWorks actually did something with it, and in some ways, I actually think they're somewhat more interesting than the mythologies. The movies are simplified, and I was talking to the kids because I know the books had pirates in them, and I was asking, did they consider the seafaring guys in the 3rd movie to be pirates? And they said, nope. They considered them Vikings that were working with the dragon hunter. So we never got pirates.
Okay.
And I consider the kids experts.
So let's get to the 3D first. We usually do that. So what do you think of the 3D aspect of this movie?
Wow. Just the whole visual thing, even the 3D, you really feel like you're flying in the flying scenes. The clouds, the mist. They really created an environment you feel like you could reach out and touch, like the mist. You felt like you could reach out and touch it and pull back a wet hand. That was just how gorgeous it was. This movie, you could take a screenshot of any scene and have a piece of art.
Now, it's kind of, I hate to be kind of mean, but the trailers I saw that were in 3D for animated movies beforehand looked like crap compared to this. I'm not going to specify which.
I would say that they were putting out trailers of unfinished work.
So yeah, I mean, compared to other animated movies, the 3D is way better in the whole Dragon trilogy than any other ones. The 3D is usually just kind of afterthought for most animated movies because they could get more money, and it's relatively easy to do compared to live action. But I think Dragon franchise as a whole, not just this movie, all three of them all had great 3D.
Oh, they have great visuals too. I mean, there's like so-called real movies that aren't framed as well. The visual consultant for this movie was Roger Deakins, who's one of the greatest cinematographers of all time.
So, is there any specific scenes?
The battles were incredible. Any flying scene, any scene with going over the ocean. I mean, the battle scenes in particular were breathtaking.
Now, I mentioned this in my spoiler-free review, that one scene in particular I thought was just amazing was the saying goodbye to Hiccup and the crew saying goodbye to the dragons on like this cliff, and like there's a couple of scenes there where like you're in the grass with Hiccup and the camera angle, and like you can see every plane of existence the grass is in, and it's just like so stunning. You're like, oh my god, this is like real 3D here. You have like 20 different layers of 3D with all the blades of grass going here and there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, and let's not forget to talk about the hidden world itself. You get in. Oh yeah, and it's like. I was like I felt like I was in a blacklight poster shop. I mean, oh my god.
Well, a little bit of an R reference for a PG movie.
Break out the bong.
It was very colorful.
Yeah, but then again, I'm infamous for my giving best 3D movies of the year to R-rated movies.
So there's a scene you see in the trailer where like these, I guess little dragons, I don't know, baby dragons. They're like
the hobgoblin.
Yeah, they're like flying there with you, and like you're in the middle of that. Like you really get to see them fly in and out and all around you. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think the second one maybe had a little bit better 3D than this, but I still think this is obviously a great 3D. You're gonna definitely be happy with it. Do you agree with my score? Great 3D?
Yeah, exactly. If you didn't give it great 3D, I was gonna tell you to go to an optometrist.
So, did you have any problems with your 3D projection or no?
No. I went to I lucked out that a new theater that had been open less than a year was running this at a reasonable time. So they hadn't had a chance to burn the bulb out or anything.
So cynical we become.
We have to. I mean, we're 3D fans are so put upon. I mean, they forget to turn the 3D on. They forget to give us glasses. And they're charging us between $3 and $5 for the privilege. And then they crap all over us.
Oh, yeah. And then, like, the surcharge was only supposed to be at first. But no, they kept it around.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that being the promise.
And they used to have these special glasses for each screening. Like, and the last one I remember seeing was Wonder Woman. And I haven't seen anything other than standard black glasses in several years now.
Well, some of them are just for marketing purposes. They're not really, because you have to use those glasses,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great 3D. There's like things popping out, and then things like dragons flying into the
screen. Oh, this is something they did that I hadn't seen since House of Wax, things would run onto the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, things were running onto the screen, things that were like flying outward from your point of view into the screen, and it looked natural. It didn't look like they had a gimmick or yeah, we'll add this in post, and we'll do no, this is like just part of the filmmaking, and it's just beautiful. It looks beautiful in 3D. It looks beautiful in general. You get a lot of good height scenes here and there where the dragon's flying up and you see the depth. The DreamWorks intro looked really good, and then I kind of hated how they redid the design, but that's near here or there.
Yeah, I didn't really care much for the new DreamWorks logo. To me, it just looked too much like Moonstruck Chocolate's logo.
It just kills some of the artistic cuteness of the kid playing on the crescent moon.
To me, I used to always think of it as Huckleberry Finn, and now it just kind of was like, it looked like I said, Moonstruck Chocolate's logo.
So yeah, the 3D is definitely worth it here. I actually found someone on Reddit that was said, yes, definitely, it definitely is worth it. It's so often that people are so jaded against 3D that making a topic on Reddit is like, oh my god, it's actually worth watching it.
Biggest screen you can find. Like I said, I lucked out. The 3D screening I went to, even though it wasn't IMAX, the screen they had was bigger than the 2 IMAX theaters that first run movies within 100 miles of me. It had a bigger screen.
All right, I was gonna be nice, but I'm gonna throw shade.
Okay.
Did you have a trailer for the Secret Life of Pets 2 before this movie?
Yeah.
And they're in the farm or something?
Yeah.
And the 3D there was just so pathetic. It's is this even on? It's 10%.
My theater didn't even bother to run any trailers in 3D.
Okay, well that one, it was 2.1D. And it's just really, that's the best you could do. You're trying to, sell me in this movie, and then if you're going to actually have it in 3D, which some of them don't, this is the best you could do. It's just come on. It was just barely visible in 3D, one layer of 3D depth besides the main characters. It's just who cares?
Sounds like Clash of the Titans.
And I don't know. For some reason, that movie just doesn't. What's the point? It just seems okay, you had a decent idea in the first one, and now you're coming back, and what's going on? I don't know.
It looks like I'm reviewing that one.
Anyway, so on to the movie itself. Is there any spoilerific scenes in 3D that you really want to talk about?
I'm trying to think. I think we've covered the 3D. I mean, like I said earlier, this you could take a screen capture of any scene, and you have a piece of art. I mean, this movie from beginning to end is absolutely gorgeous to look at. The 3D is breathtaking. This movie is a dazzling feast. See it on the biggest screen possible, and in 3D, it's a treat.
Yeah, I was on the verge of giving this Editor's Choice great 3D, but just it just was I want a little bit more, and I would have gotten there, but still, it's just on that edge of being perfect. So, I mean, all of them have been this way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's go on to the movie itself. This movie takes place a year after the events of the second movie. And it's been about 5 years since that movie came out, so it's been a while. I actually forgot that the mother survived. I thought the mother died and that the father survived, but I got those switched up. But they quickly tell you what's going on. Well, they don't tell you. They don't have a flashback or anything like that. They just straightforward. Hiccup is the new leader of Bork. I don't know how to pronounce that town. Burke, yeah. And you see a whole bunch of different people. The town is just kind of crawling with dragons, every inch of them. And Hiccup is going out to try to rescue them because he apparently knows that people are trying to grab him. And you have this really cool action scene where Hiccup and his crew invade this boat and try to get everyone there. And at first you don't know it's Hiccup, and it looks really cool. He looks like a villain. And the explanation of Hiccup's fireproof gear, that they use the scales from the fire, to make him fireproof, and they rescue all the dragons except for one, which turns invisible, which is the eventual mate of Toothless. They didn't give it a name. I didn't catch a name. Did you?
No, they just called her Light Fury.
Which looks basically like Toothless but white and shinier.
Yeah, she sparkles.
I am glad that they didn't go overboard and making it look feminine, quote unquote feminine. It doesn't have the gaudy cartoonish super big eyelashes or something like that.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't go all Lisa Frank on her.
You know what I'm talking about, where the cartoons have those faces, and it's oh, that's the girl because look at her eyelashes, look at her, lipstick.
She's got earrings and a little hair bow, even though she has no hair.
Yeah, it's none of that crap. It just
and they didn't put her in heels or anything.
Yeah, it's just such a sad kind of way of doing it, but it doesn't do that. It's that's one of the things about this movie, is that it's just so smart and so well done. They don't have to do that. You get it,
Yeah, she's actually knows how to use her fury powers a lot more. So I kept asking myself, why in the hell isn't she the alpha?
Yeah, and that was one thing that kind of threw me off. I remember the alphas fighting in the second movie, but I don't remember them all dying and Toothpaste becoming the leader.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking I should have quizzed these kids more about what's going on in the TV show.
So, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and we find a new villain here, and new villain of Grandma, I guess. I don't know.
It's enough. Yeah.
He's trying to hunt down all the dragons, specifically the Night Furies, just because he has a vendetta against dragons, which I kind of feel like he was an interesting character, but I wanted more.
Yeah, it was not developed a whole lot. He's just sort of a plot device because we have to have a reason to have to get rid of the dragons.
Yeah, and then he managed to find a way to put venom in the dragons he had, so that way he controlled them, which is that's kind of interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah.
And his drag.
Yes, yeah, and he had dragons that could spit this corrosive venom, and I was thinking, wow, this looks really cool in 3D.
Yeah, so I mean, you're saying it nicely. They throw up acid.
Yeah.
And they happen to always throw up onto this camera screen. So he's okay, we're gonna use our Night Fury or our white one to lure him to get him, and he's actually a pretty good strategist, I think. So Hiccup goes back to town and tells everyone what's going on, and they're so what do you want to do? It's all right, we're gonna plan this out. We're gonna catch him. We're not gonna let him take our dragons. And then there's a elaborate scene where he comes and they get double crossed, but then their crew are ready, and then he double crosses the crew, and like it's just like, wow, he's really smart. I didn't expect the crew to be this smart to begin with, and then they're really upping the game and escaping with everything.
Yeah, and then I was like going, okay, why isn't uh Vanka, mother, running? Why isn't she chieftain? Just just saying.
Yeah.
And also, why do so many Vikings have Scottish accents?
You just have to let that one go. That was from the first movie.
I know, that's been a question I've been asking. These are Scottish, or maybe that's where the Scots got their accents when the Vikings came.
I just keep wondering if someone's gonna say, I want gold."
Or if it's not Viking, it's crap.
So anyway, you do have a very nice scene where Toothless sees the other Light Fury, and like they're kind of like flirting, and he doesn't know what to do. And like the animation in that scene, you see a little bit in the trailer. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And Toothless's dance.
It's just.
I mean,
it's like, did they motion capture different animals to actually get that, or did they just like so attentive to detail that they are able to do that? Because like it really feels like Toothless always has like a cat dog kind of animation style to how its skeleton works, but like it just really feels like it looks like an authentic creature, like it could exist, kind of thing.
I'm wondering if they did motion captures on Persian cats. Because, I mean, both of them, they just moved so much like Persians.
So, yeah, it's, you get to eventually, you're wondering if the white one is working for Grimmauld, which she isn't. It was kind of, at first, it's like, okay, maybe he's letting her go, but no, he doesn't have that much control over her,
Yeah.
Now, I do feel like this is really dependent on you watching the first two movies. I kind of feel like if you just walked into this, you would be lost, but you might be okay. But I think you really need it to be able to watch this. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Because that's the one thing, smartly, all the kids that I went with, they had seen it. But they were other kids in the theater. They were too young, and their parents or guard hadn't caught them up. And they were constantly going, what's going on? Why is this happening? And there were lots of callbacks to the other movies. That a lot of the callbacks, I don't think you needed to understand to enjoy the movie, though. But if you'd seen them, they would enrich the movie. Like when Light Fury lands on the beach, on the shore. That's kind of a callback to Hiccup and Toothless's first meeting. I mean, there were lots of little things like that too without the movie.
And of course, we get callbacks and flashbacks of Hiccup's dad, which I love those flashbacks.
Uh-huh.
The characters here are just so rich and so deep in what they, especially Hiccup. They really get the good characters in there, and like you really get a good sense that they're like really well written, and just like all these touching moments of when Hiccup was a kid and the father being a great father, and like showing him or telling him about a hidden world, which is the subtitle for the movie, of where the dragons live, and then it's like it's across the end of the world, and it's down a waterfall, but no one knows exactly about it. Which it was like, okay, it's interesting. If he's known about this, then why haven't we talked about this in other movies?
That's what's called a retcon.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like, hey, why didn't you mention this in the first one?
Because they hadn't thought of it yet.
So, I mean, it kind of leads into like kind of a plot hole. It's like, okay, how, but fine. They try to find this area and they can't. Of course, the Vikings still believe that Earth is flat.
Mm-hmm.
And which, unfortunately, there's some people in our time that believe the world is flat, which I don't have tolerance for.
Yeah, and they also but a lot of them also don't believe in vaccines, so that helps take care of them quickly. Just cough on them.
Anyway. So, we're trying to find this hidden world, and then, Toothless is trying to impress this White Fury, and, the villain escapes, for now.
Mm-hmm.
And, they want to go fly around and see what's going on. Then you basically get like a scene where they're just trying to find, you let Toothless go because the Night Fury comes back and like, she watches the animation and, is interested in him, but she's scared of Hiccup and she doesn't really want, she doesn't have any positive annotations with humans. So every time, Hiccup is around, she runs away from him. And obviously that, they have an attachment to one another. They have good chemistry, which they're two animals that never speak, but you could sense they like each other.
Mm-hmm. They communicate very well. That's really well animated. You understand what's going on. You understand when she's happy and when she's freaked out. And Toothless is just trying so hard.
And I was like, this is such a bold, confident, smart thing that they could have like a 20-minute, scene where it's just the animation, no dialogue. You're just trying to see the dragons talk to one another and love each other. And it's just like, that's such a beautiful thing that they don't need to have, someone narrating or telling you what's happening. You just see it. You just understand it.
Yeah, and the exposition in this movie is just done really quick, fairly painless. It just snaps like Toothless is learning to fly on his own, and and Hiccup has adjusted his tail so he can. So that's why you have all these scenes with Hiccup, Toothless alone, and Hiccup with his people. He's still on his little metal prosthetic. Of course, I thought it was cute that he uses it to play fetch with Toothless.
Mm-hmm. And so, Hiccup lets Toothless go, knowing, not sure what's going to happen, but he has to try to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And, they decided to try to do a raid on his home of Grenevall. And that leads to a pretty nice action scene where, they get trapped and, they're managed to escape, but they leave one of them behind. I forget that girl character's name. Do you remember her name?
She's one of the twins. The Rough Nut and Tough Nut. I can never remember which one she is.
So she's left behind, and then she's captured. And I kind of give it credit for how they did it, but at the same time, it was really annoying and grating to how much she talked, in that scene.
Yeah. Some of the human humor in this movie is grating. Like, I really got tired of the one guy constantly trying to help Hiccup with his love life, and his relationships are in total shambles. And then we have the other Viking who's hot for mom. I said, if he uses the term MILF, I'm gonna scream.
Yeah, it was. Some of the comedy did work. I mean, some of it was really wacky, which I don't remember the other ones being. Do you remember those being as wacky as this one?
No, they weren't like this. It's like it's like, okay, we've got to give Hiccup's friend some scenes. Because they had more scenes in this movie than they had in the other two combined.
So, yeah.
They had a lot to do.
Which I give them credit for, but at the same time, it was kind of annoying. It kind of felt out of place, you know?
Mm.
And, like, so they let the other twin go free because she was so annoying, which is like, okay, that is kind of legitimately funny, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, and they were just letting her go because they could follow her back.
And you do get the mom in this, and I really like her. And she really kind of helps the character of Astrid, which is America Ferrera's character. And she really steps it up. She's always been like there as a secondary character, but like, you know, the mom really pushes Astrid to become a central character and like really help out Hiccup.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like, you know, I love America Ferrera, first of all. She's fantastic in anything she does. But I think she really is a standout here, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember her being as big of a deal in the other movies either. She's there, but she's not, like, this much in there.
Yeah, exactly. Because the other movies were pretty much just Hiccup, a toothless villain, and dragons.
So,
and this one is for Hiccup and Toothless's stories running parallel.
Yeah, and I really did feel like they were kind of playing with the idea, a whole movie about getting married, and they did seem a little young. They did seem like they were more friends than relationship, but it felt like as the movie progressed, they did get a better connection to one another, and did the chemistry built on there, and it was just like, okay, this makes sense now. It's not forced because they want a new queen. It makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that America Ferrera has a scene in Super Size Me where she mentions the Dragons movies.
That would be awesome.
So anyway, Hiccup has a plan, which is basically to leave the island they're in, to go, find this hidden world, and to go just pick up and go somewhere else. And they eventually, and everyone's kind of like, whoa, this is a big change. And I was like, yeah, this is a big deal. And, he has a good enough speech. I think it's not great, but, he's not supposed to be great at speeches yet, I think. And they do fly to another island, and they're getting settled in this new place. And that's when they do see the White Fury again. And, before that, the White Fury and Hiccup do chase each other and get to the hidden world and have this beautiful scene in the clouds. And then Astrid's dragon smells the other dragon and leads them to this hidden world. So they get to be there, and they see that, Toothless and the White Fury, the Light Fury, sorry, are now basically the king and queen of the dragons. And like they kind of slip on some rocks, and it kind of causes them to fall, and like Toothless saves them, and they're not sure what's happening with the everything. And you see that this society is totally based on not at all with humans, and it's just not compatible to have them both. But Toothless feels like he has to save his, best friend, which totally makes sense. They have built up several movies together, and they have a great relationship, So then they decide. Then the Grimmauld decides to visit the new island, and which I was like, okay, how did they tracked him? Okay, but did they track him to the new one, or did that be maybe I forgot that step? But they tracked him, and then they decide to try to you have this action scene
because when they let the prisoner go, it was on the new island.
Okay.
So that's how they found the new island.
Yeah, so he gets both Hiccup and the White Fury, when he comes by, and they can't really attack him because he's ready to kill Toothless if he doesn't, and the other one. And it's kind of a really good kind of thing with smart and strategery. When they do finally go onto his ship and free him, I felt that was kind of an anticlimactic kind of action scene.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like no one was really... We all know this is the last movie in the film franchise, but I didn't really feel like there was a real threat to any of the characters. Like, I knew they were going to win that somehow, and, obviously I don't want any of these characters to die, but I would be okay with some of them getting maimed or something. That way you have consequences and,
Yeah, I was actually surprised because with how dark the second one was, I figured there was going to be, more death and mayhem, but there wasn't. This was a relatively consequence-free movie.
And I was kind of expecting maybe like Astrid would lose her arm or leg, in a way to kind of match, Hiccup, and in a way that, is meaningful, but you do get that there's consequences here. And I felt like that action scene was kind of fun, but kind of quick, and it felt like it was just a little bit too easy,
Mm-hmm.
What else? I do feel like it's a little bit light in length. I could have felt like another 30 minutes in this movie. I would have been totally fine with that, Maybe if they would have used that time to help explain about the hidden world and why they didn't try to find it before, or maybe more time with the villain, that could have been really nice. Ultimately, I think the biggest issue is that I didn't want this movie to end.
Yeah. Well, this franchise has made over $1 billion for 3 studios. Because, the first movie was released by Paramount, the second one by Fox, and now DreamWorks is Universal. So, even though I think the story of Hiccup and Toothless is done, I would not be surprised if we see dragons in another form.
Like, I could see the TV show doing some stuff, but I don't see a 4th movie happening. I think the director has like really said that they're not touching this again, and that the only reason he wanted to do it is like he wanted to do the movies, and if he didn't get to do them the way he wanted to, he wasn't going to be part of it, which I guess they could hire someone new, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So we get to the ending where Toothless and basically Hiccup says we all have to let him go. That basically this is just going to continue happening. People are just not going to allow us to have dragons as part of our life. And they have a world back there that they know how to get to, and they'll be happy and safe. So for the betterment of dragons, it is best for us to let them free. And all the dragons fly away, and it was really touching. It was just like, damn, he's absolutely right. And,
Yeah.
you get like a scene in the future
Mm-hmm.
where Hiccup is now, you get to see where Hiccup and Astrid are getting married.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you kind of see what's going on after the dragons leave, how the new Burke grows, and Astrid and Hiccup get married.
And I thought it was really sweet, and I really liked that moment. And then you get another future timeline. Basically you get a little bit of Hiccup narrating the future and saying, it's been a long time, but we decided to go back and try to see. And you see Hiccup with the full-on beard, and damn it, he looks good in that beard.
Mm-hmm. And him and Astrid and their kids. Yeah, they got 2 kids.
Yeah, little ones are scared of the dragons. They've never seen dragons before. And, you get to see the Hiccup and the White Fury be there, and they get to one last time flying together as a family, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful way to end this series.
Yeah, and Astrid's reunited. Of course, you all of a sudden you don't see her reintroduced to her dragon, but she's riding her dragon.
So yeah, I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I loved all the movies in this franchise, and I love this movie. You know, the problems I had with it, I feel like are really minor. I mean, the villain could be better, but the villain could be better in all the movies. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like we could, you know, there's some plot holes here, but all of them have plot holes. In some ways, this adds to the plot holes in the other movies. But it's so well written and so great, you know. So, before I give my score, what is your score?
I would give it 8 out of 10.
So I'm a little higher than that. I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10 and an Editor's Choice Award. So it's right up there. It's right there in the edge of being, you know, perfect. There's issues there, but it's not perfect, but it's great. Is there anything else you want to mention about this movie?
I think I've said it all. You know, see it in 3D, see it on the biggest screen you can.
And, you know, bring some tissues. You may, you know, I was crying at the end, you know, and the credits, when it was just like showing you scenes in the last movies, it was just like such a awesome way of doing that too.
Oh, and even though there isn't technically an end credit scene, watch the credits. Because the animation before each sequence of when they're going through the early credits, they have like a little 2D scene that explains like art direction, cinematography, and these little vignettes perfectly capture an easy explanation of various elements of making a movie. Perfect for a kid to understand. Just watch it. You'll have your kids look at them. You'll raise a whole generation of film literate kids.
So was that after?
Explanation. Yeah, it was in the early credits when after they showed the scenes from then they cut to like it's 2D credits. I was like going, wow, this is like really smart. Because they're perfect. The Oscars should have something like this because it quickly explains what cinematography is without words and art direction. I mean, they were just brilliant.
Okay. So yeah, I guess I walked out right when they're like showing different scenes of, you know, the past, and I was like, okay, there's not going to be an end credit scene. There's not going to be a, you know, a goofy thing in the side or something. So I guess I missed that part. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, to the annoyance of everybody, I sit through to the very end. I said, I paid so much for this, I'm seeing it all.
So it has made a series best opening at $55 million. So we may not see the end of this, but it's a great way to end the series. You know, I am hopeful that they don't do what Disney does and force a way to have a fourth movie, or, you know, I don't want a spinoff. I don't want any of that. You know, I don't want prequels. I don't care. This is good enough. This is perfect way to end it. You don't, you know, and I guess I'm happy that Disney's not here to screw it up and, you know, do that.
Well, all I know so far is like Universal has now made dragons part of their park, and they'll probably do more video game, you know, mobile games.
Yeah, I mean, there might be another book or you know, TV stuff, but I really don't want them to do another fourth movie. I don't care about the kids getting dragons in the future. You know, that's not needed.
Oh, you know they're going to reboot this eventually because Hollywood remakes everything. So I'm just wondering how fast the cycle is. Is it going to be 10 years, 20 years? Of course, Blade Runner kind of broke the thing for sequels. I mean, 35 years between installments.
Who knows? Who knows? Well, this is definitely a great way to end this franchise and a great movie. So,
yeah. Hopefully you've already seen it before you. Even if you listen to this without going to see it, go see it anyway.
I mentioned in my review, if you haven't seen any of the previous ones, you really need to see them. They're not stupid cartoons like so many other movies. They're more than that. They're animated movies that have a great story to them and not a hard.
Yeah. They treat these like real movies. So many animated movies, they have just a generic story, and they're crap like the Emoji Movie, or they look terrible like the trailer for Wonder Park looks terrible, looks so generic. These are not generic. These are they have real characters with real motivations. And they make the dragons into real characters too.
Yeah, and after seeing this series, you're never gonna think of dragons the same way. I think since this series, they have done some more dragon stuff, but I feel like this series has really developed what a dragon could be. They're not just monsters. They're smart creatures that or can fly and breathe fire, but they're they're not just one-dimensional things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I guess that's basically it for this podcast. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye, guys and gals.
All right, before this podcast ends, I want to give a thank you to my patrons. Right now, we have one patron, which is David from Spain, and I want to thank you for your financial support. All right, so that's going to be it for this podcast.
We now have a Patreon, and the link is in the description. Thanks for watching.
And we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a little bit everywhere. Just look for us, 3D or 2D. And of course, review us on iTunes. And if you want to write us a letter, our email address is email3dortwo d@gmail.com. So that's going to be it. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.